I want to start off this video by letting you know that I won't have any loud jump scares anywhere in this video, so you don't need to hide down there in the comments. You can go full screen, you can turn up the audio, you can lean in real close. Go on, I'll wait. See? No jump scares. Now I want to clarify, when I say low poly, I'm not talking about Resident Evil 1 or GTA 3 level of polygons, nor am I talking about Nier Automata 2B ass levels of polygons. We're discussing somewhere in between. A simpler polygon count for a more elegant time. And I feel Cry of Fear fits the bill for what I'm talking about best. This is not a review of Cry of Fear. If you want that, go watch this British guy's video about it. Jesus Christ, 18 million views. But it is an amazing game, an amazing example of what I want to talk about. The fact that I think low poly horror is way scarier than horror done in games with a much higher graphical fidelity. It's a question I've always wondered to myself: why do I feel that games like Cry of Fear, Killing Floor 1, and Manhunt creep me out a lot more than games like Outlast, Amnesia the Bunker, and Dead Space Remake, for example? Now, you might disagree with me, and that's fine. Horror is subjective, and others might find one thing scary that another person doesn't. I'm not scared of clowns. Some people are absolutely terrified. I have an insane fear of cockroaches that others might not. But that's enough rambling. Let's get into why I find low poly games more creepy and scary than the rest. And to do that, let's start off with the first reason why I think they are: the surreal atmosphere. The simple nature of low poly, whether intentional design choice or lack of technology, i.e. time it was made or the engine used to make it, creates an almost dreamlike feeling to it. Otherworldly, you could say. Something's just not right and I can't put my finger on it. This feeling can heighten the sense of unease and make the player more susceptible to the unexpected, creating an environment where horror elements can be more impactful. The fact that low poly results in simplified, and even going far enough to say abstract representations of objects, environments, and even enemies helps elevate that level of unease you get from being in the world. The lack of intricate details leaves you to fill in the details. The Faster, a creature you first encounter in the apartment section of the game, looks to have these razor-sharp blades attached to her arms and legs, both covered in blood. Her eyes seemingly missing with what looks to be some kind of black ooze dripping down her holes. Her lack of details, at least for me, make her more intimidating than creatures from other games like a necromorph. I even tried using AI to make her look more real, to see what she'd look like in a higher fidelity, but that didn't turn out too well. Then I got a little carried away. One aspect of games in general that I personally tend to overlook is the audio. And I'm not talking about the soundtrack. I'm talking strictly about the sound effects. Footsteps, gunshots, sounds of the enemies, the wind howling, the buzzing of the lights, all things that bring the world to life that you never really pick up on, but are some of the most important aspects. Not just in gaming, but in film as well. Let's use a YouTube video for example. People can tend to overlook negatives in visuals such as lower resolution and lack of clarity, but the second the audio goes to shit, the video becomes unbearable to watch. With horror games that lack visual definition, where things might not appear as scary, even though I think they do, developers feel the need to amplify the experience with top-tier sound effects, and Cry of Fear does this absolutely masterfully. Every enemy has the most unique sounds to them. The Faster's footsteps pierce your ears with the loud sounds of metal footsteps. When damaged enough, they stab themselves and let out an overwhelming death scream that makes you tense up. The Saw Runner, hearing the sounds of the chainsaw start to rev up and then the unnerving howling, all amplify the experience. Then, once you finally break away from all these anxiety-inducing sounds, you're left with just the sounds of the everyday world. The plane high up in the sky, the beeping of the crosswalk signs, and the sounds of the wind blowing throughout the buildings and trees. All pretty innocent sounds all of us encounter on a daily basis. They almost act as the skin, the flesh to the horror, just waiting to be ripped and cut away, revealing the grotesque insides. But I do want to say the music contributes a lot as well. Andreas, the lead developer, really knocked it out of the park. Other games like Killing Floor 1 and even System Shock 2, which has a lot lower polygon count than I said I would talk about, but still has that otherworldly feel to it, share a lot about what I was talking about earlier, specifically Killing Floor. I feel like a lot of these types of games take place in the current world. Silent Hill, Manhunt, and The Suffering. Cities that appear to be similar to the ones we grew up, some sense of normality, yet under the hood, someone is watching you. Well, this video turned out to be a little bit shorter than I was anticipating, but regardless, it's a topic I've always wanted to discuss and kind of dive into and see why I felt this way about low poly horror, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, maybe consider subscribing and checking out one of my other videos. Have a good day, guys.